When the energy of two souls aligns, and no force can keep them apart. Carl Jung. Have you ever locked eyes with a stranger and felt like your soul remembered them before your mind even had a chance to catch up? When the energy of two souls aligns, no force can keep them apart. But is that destiny, or just a poetic illusion we tell ourselves to make sense of timing and chemistry? Friend, in a world where love is often reduced to swipes and surface-level sparks, this video invites you into something deeper, a sacred thread that connects two lives beyond reason. Today, we'll explore the true nature of soul alignment and why certain encounters feel like they've been written long before we arrive. You'll meet Sarah, a nurse from Seattle carrying quiet grief and hidden longings. Her story mirrors what many of us carry: the fear of being unseen, the ache for something real, and the divine nudge that maybe, just maybe, someone out there feels the same. We'll also reflect on what Carl Jung called synchronicity, and how ancient truths, from the Psalms to the letters of Paul, still speak directly into modern hearts. If you've ever questioned whether that moment of deep connection meant something more, this video is for you. And I promise you, there's a part at the end that will shift how you see your past and your future, so don't skip a second. Welcome to Sound Codes, where we awaken the soul through stories, signs, and timeless truths. If this message speaks to you, subscribe and share it with someone whose spirit might need this too. And it all started with one moment she never expected. Number 1. When a stranger feels familiar. Sarah was convinced that her life ran on nothing but schedules and obligations. Each morning, she woke up before dawn to her phone's alarm, glanced at TikTok for a brief distraction, then hurriedly prepared for her shift at a busy hospital on the outskirts of Seattle. She was good at what she did, caring for patients, making sure they felt heard, but she rarely admitted how drained she felt. In those rainy Northwest nights, she wondered if there was more to life than simply going through the motions. One day, an unusual moment occurred. She encountered a new colleague named James, a traveling physician's assistant. When she first locked eyes with him, it was as if an inner chord she had never felt before vibrated. She couldn't explain it logically. All she knew was that James was not just another coworker. Something about his presence stirred up hopes she had buried, memories she didn't know she still carried, and, oddly enough, a small flicker of peace. That inexplicable moment speaks to the hidden threads that Carl Jung often pointed toward, synchronicities that surpass mere coincidence. In the Psalms, there is a quiet reminder that our days are ordained, that each step somehow matters. This sense of purposeful design resonates with Jung's view that all souls navigate a collective unconscious, sharing archetypes, dreams, and spiritual yearnings. Sarah's world was about to shift because of one encounter that felt like it had been quietly orchestrated beyond the scope of pure chance. In this space, you might see a reflection of your own life. Have you ever felt drawn to someone, be it a friend, partner, or even a mentor, on such a profound level that it was almost otherworldly? Perhaps it was a fleeting moment in California or a heartfelt conversation under star-laced skies in the Midwest. Regardless of where it happened, these connections speak to something bigger than us, a grand tapestry weaving hearts together. And if you've ever brushed off that sense of fated meeting as coincidence, consider this: every strand of your being is shaped by experiences, hopes, and hidden fears. The pull we feel towards certain people might just be the next chapter in our divine script. We hold on to these questions because they promise that we're not alone. Let's dig deeper into why we feel these pulls and how they shape the journey of our soul. Hold on to that sense of wonder. We'll unravel it further in the next part. Number 2. Shadows and Soul Echoes. Sarah wasn't merely caught up in the sparkle of a new face. For years, she had buried her own longings for a spiritual life, for belonging, for someone who truly saw her. In the book of Jeremiah, there's a beautiful line about a longing placed within us that yearns for divine connection. Sarah's heart was no different. She believed she'd find peace in her daily tasks, but something essential was missing. That same day, while packing up to go home, she struck up an effortless conversation with James. Their banter began with simple talk of patient care, but it quickly waded into deeper waters, shared hobbies, odd dreams, fleeting glimpses of faith. Her mind told her that this was a casual chat, yet her soul seemed to whisper that it was anything but. Each of them felt echoes of something uncanny and essential, a nudge that their separate paths might be brushing together for a reason. Carl Jung often spoke of the shadow, the unrecognized parts of ourselves that lurk in the unconscious. Shadow energies are like invisible hands that pull strings behind the scenes of our lives. Sarah's hidden insecurities, her fear of being unwanted, her struggle to trust, rose gently to the surface when James showed kindness beyond polite small talk. That rising tension inside her was the shadow stirring, asking to be integrated, not dismissed. Sometimes, the meeting of two souls has little to do with romance and more to do with reflection. We see ourselves in the other. Their presence helps us uncover repressed wounds or forgotten dreams. In Sarah's case, James appeared to shine a compassionate light on corners she didn't know needed healing. This dynamic can frighten many people. Why do we gravitate toward those who stir up old hurts? Is it chance, or is it part of a greater design? Here lies a small controversy. Some believe that every powerful connection stems solely from fate, while others see it as random biology or fleeting chemistry. But perhaps the truth is somewhere in between. We are complex beings, woven from emotions, memories, and spiritual threads. When another person resonates with that deeper tapestry, an earthquake of the heart ensues. If a part of you questions whether you are worthy of such a connection, hold that thought gently. Our shadows often whisper lies about our unworthiness. Yet the very purpose of these connections might be to illuminate the falsehood of those lies, revealing the light of truth at our core. A quiet invitation arises. Let's move forward, together, and see why these soul encounters can unsettle us so powerfully. Number 3. The crisis point. Sarah's growing bond with James became a focal point of her thoughts. Every day, she felt more electrified, more alive, and also more terrified. She never anticipated how quickly someone could break through her well-fortified boundaries. Deep inside, she carried an unspoken fear that if she allowed someone too close, they would leave. A childhood memory loomed large. Her father walked out on her family when she was 10, leaving an empty chair at the dinner table that never quite disappeared from her mind. One rainy Tuesday, a rumor circulated among staff that James was preparing to move on to another hospital in California. Sarah felt a pang of dread. She confronted him in the corridor, her voice trembling under the fluorescent lights. He confessed he'd been offered a short-term position but hadn't decided yet. For a brief moment, time seemed to stop. Sarah's heart hammered with the weight of facing yet another departure, a new version of the same heartbreak she once endured. Here's the twist. James admitted that his own mother had died in that very hospital 5 years prior. In his contract there was a way of honoring her memory. It shocked Sarah to realize that behind his gentle facade, James carried silent grief. This revelation changed everything. Suddenly, their connection was no longer just about what Sarah needed, it was about what both of them were trying to heal. The very corridor where they stood, that standard hospital hallway with beeping machines and hurried footsteps, became a sacred place of truth. Yet not everyone saw it that way. A few coworkers gossiped that Sarah was being naive. Others dismissed James as a drifter. A friend teased Sarah on social media, hinting that she was chasing a hopeless fantasy. This is where the controversy flared. Was Sarah wise to trust this shared resonance, or was it another illusion that would crumble? Carl Jung once said, "When the energy of two souls aligns, no force can keep them apart." In that moment of vulnerability, Sarah began to understand what that truly meant. This wasn't just chemistry. It was a deeper pull, a sacred recognition. Two souls, aligned in timing and tenderness, unearthing old wounds to birth new healing. Some people hold the belief that we must protect ourselves at all costs, that vulnerability leads to pain. But biblical stories, like the parable of the prodigal son, remind us that open arms and open hearts are often the key to returning home to ourselves. In that swirl of uncertainty, Sarah grappled with a universal question: was it safer to shut down and avoid hurt, or to lean in and trust that maybe, just maybe, this alignment was part of a bigger story meant to set them both free? Sitting in that tension, we begin to see the cracks where the light shines through. Let's discover how soul connections can propel us toward growth if we're willing to step beyond fear. Number 4. The Redemptive Journey. For several days after that raw confession, Sarah found herself poring over old journals. She'd scrawl questions to God, to herself, even to the universe, searching for clarity. In each entry, she kept coming back to that singular theme: why did James appear at this exact juncture in her life? And why did his grief resonate so deeply with her own pain? She remembered a verse in the New Testament that speaks of how perfect love casts out fear. It felt relevant not only in a religious sense but also in a deeply human one. Maybe James's presence was gently pushing her to confront the fear she carried since childhood. In spiritual loneliness, we often discover how fragile our hearts truly are. Sometimes, the very person who triggers our pain also guides us toward release. In quiet hours, Sarah reflected on the synergy between Jung's ideas and biblical wisdom. Jung insisted that until we face our unconscious wounds, they control us and we call it fate. Scripture teaches about grace and renewal, of being made whole when we turn our hearts toward love. Both perspectives seem to converge into the same truth: transformation demands courage, and often, another soul's presence offers us that spark to change. During a night shift, Sarah watched James comforting a patient's family. She felt a surge of something akin to hope. Maybe genuine connection, one steeped in compassion, empathy, and shared vulnerability, was the key to redemption. In a moment of silent prayer, she understood that a deeper alignment was happening, not just a random flirtation. Their stories, touched by parallel heartbreak, held the potential to carve a path to inner healing. For Sarah, this was a clarion call to trust the synchronicity she once doubted. If you, friend, are sensing an echo of your own story in these lines, you're not alone. The swirl of tension between fear and longing is universal. We may go years without meeting someone who sees us beyond the surface. But when the right soul crosses our path, they might hold up a mirror that reveals the exact cracks and hidden potentials that can lead us toward wholeness. And in that vision of renewed wholeness, we're urged to continue, believing that something astonishing might be born from our scars. Number 5. The Moment of Alignment. Every story arcs toward a defining moment. For Sarah, it happened one crisp Friday morning. She was alone in the hospital chapel, a tiny sanctuary tucked away from the bustle. Soft ambient music played from the overhead speakers, and the gentle scent of lit candles reminded her of a calm harbor far from life's storms. She knelt, feeling the heaviness of her father's absence, her mother's quiet struggles, and the fear that James, too, might vanish. Yet in that stillness, she felt an assurance she hadn't known before. She realized it wasn't about clutching onto someone else to fix her pain. It was about finally letting her vulnerability be seen. Right on cue, James entered the chapel. He shared that he'd decided not to take the California position, at least not yet, because he felt his journey with Sarah wasn't complete. In his eyes, she glimpsed her own reflection, a person torn by wounds yet willing to hope. They talked for nearly an hour, spanning everything from scriptural verses about grace to Jungian archetypes of wholeness. The air was thick with emotion, but also with promise. Sarah voiced her greatest fear. What if you leave anyway? What if I'm not enough? James answered in a hushed tone that it wasn't about permanence but presence. True alignment doesn't guarantee a flawless future. It invites two hearts to walk a shared path of growth, even if they part ways someday. In that instant, both felt a sense of release. The alignment was real, powerful, a weaving of their stories into a tapestry that God, or fate, or the collective unconscious had orchestrated. And while no force can tear apart the resonance of two truly aligned souls, it doesn't mean external factors won't challenge them. What matters is how they choose to show up in that bond. Sarah stood up, tears in her eyes, feeling a river of gratitude coursing through her. She recalled how alone she once felt, trapped in her daily routines and her leftover heartbreaks, and realized that some ties are meant to remind us we are more than we dare to believe. An invisible hand had guided her to this moment, revealing that love, spiritual or human, was a mirror to see her own worth. In that trembling peace, they both understood, once two souls truly meet, the impact outlasts any distance. It is the mark of a divine script in which our hidden wounds transform into corridors of grace. What happens after two souls align? If you've made it this far, thank you, truly. What you just experienced isn't just Sarah's story. It's a reflection of something deeper that lives within all of us, a quiet longing for connection, for meaning, and for divine timing. Because when two souls align, not just in presence, but in purpose, no force on earth can keep them apart. And since you stayed with me till the very end, here's something I hope you'll carry with you. The right person for your soul won't just understand your light, they'll sit with your shadows, honor them, and call them sacred. That kind of bond doesn't just comfort, it awakens something ancient and powerful inside of us. So I want to ask you, have you ever felt that kind of connection? A moment with someone that felt destined, almost otherworldly? If so, I'd love for you to share it in the comments. Or simply type, I believe in divine alignment. Let's make this space a quiet circle where kindred souls recognize each other. Wherever you are in your journey, whether you're waiting, healing, or rediscovering your sense of self, know this, you are not forgotten. Your story is still being written. And when the time is right, what your heart has been praying for might already be on its way. If this message stirred something in you, I hope you'll subscribe to Sound Codes and turn on the bell so you won't miss what's coming next. We'll continue exploring the unseen threads that shape our lives, through healing, signs, divine timing, and soul-deep truth. Until next time, keep your heart open. Keep your faith strong. And trust that your soul is being guided, always.